of Srimad Bhagavatam and the Krishna book, and also thank George Harrison because he is the one who sponsored for this Krishna book, the publication of the Krishna book. So which is so wonderful. So this is the story of the Samantaka Jewel, another new Leela that's unfolding, and this is talking about last few times we already earlier spoke about Manchkunda, and then we spoke about many other devotees, and we spoke about Pradyumna, the son of Krishna, and Rukmini, and now this is another story that's unfolding, which is a story of Satyajit, and who happened to be a king in the dynasty of Dwarka Dama, and he was Satyajit was a great devotee of the sun god. And it's very interesting to note that even in those times, there were people who were worshipping many different demigods. Like Indra was earlier worshipped by the people of Rajavasis over there, and they were so much and doing. And then Krishna told, do Govardhan Puja instead of Indra Puja. And he showed, and not only that, even when Indra was angry and lashed out rains at the people of Vrindavan, Krishna showed that how he can protect even by the wrath from the wrath of even the demigods by lifting the Govardhan hill at the age of 7 years. And interestingly, Krishna lifted to this with his left hand with his little finger, just to show the significance of how insignificant it is for him, and that Krishna is always reciprocating to the love of devotees. And as he says very rightly in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhuna vinasaya cha duskritam dharma samstapanardaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And so in order to re-establish these principles of dharma, and also in order to for the love of his devotees, and also to annihilate the demons. And Krishna showed both of these things. Not only Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, but you can literally see that Krishna has been doing that throughout his life. He has been putting an end to all these demonic people. We've seen how he has put an end to Kamsa. We've seen how he has defeated Jarasandha. We've seen how he has defeated Shishupal. So like that, he's been doing so many things. At the same time, not only that annihilation of these demoniac people, but we also seen how Krishna has been so lovingly reciprocating to the love of his devotees. And in every chapter or in every Leela of Krishna is basically to give us faith, to give us inspiration, that as long as Avasya Rakshabe Krishna Viswasa Palana, that when we have the shelter of Krishna, then no matter whichever demigod is in charge, we are always covered by the protection of Krishna Bhagavan. So here we can see that Satyajit was a devotee of the sun god Surya. And then we also know what was the name of the sun god. In fact, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam. Vivaswan manave praha manuriksvake pravit. So Krishna tells that the first Bhagavad Gita was actually spoken to the sun god Vivaswan. So here we can see that Satyajit is a devotee of the sun god whose name is Vivaswan, and and the sun god, the demigods, are known for giving this material benedictions, right? They can fulfill your desires. We've seen earlier also Kartikeya, when Kartikeya was happy with Muchukanda, he tells him, ask for any material desires, but don't ask me for liberation, because that is in the hands of Krishna or Vishnu. Not we cannot give that. So like that, the sun gods, they are in a position to give benedictions, material benedictions. So here also the sun god, being pleased with the devotion of Satyajit, has given him a jewel which is called a Shamantaka jewel. And because of this jewel, there was some misunderstanding that happened between the Satyajit and the Yadu dynasty. And we can also understand that Satyajit was ruling a part of this Dwarkadama, that within the jurisdiction of Dwarkadama. And then it's very interesting, and we'll see that as the story unfolds, we'll see that Satyajit has voluntarily offered after a certain Leela that happens, that he offers his daughter Satyabhama along with the Shamantaka jewel. Right, just like how in India, as part of the dowry or as part of tradition, when you get your daughter married, then you give certain material things which go along with the daughter, so that they can start off a fresh life on a good note with all these material things that the father or the bride gives them. So here we can see that there are two things that have happened. One is that there are two things that have happened. One is that Satyajit is offering his daughter Satyabhama, and then we also see that Jambavati has been, the daughter of Jambavan, is also was offered to Krishna on account of Samantaka jewel. So Krishna is Atmarama. He's always like self-satisfied, and he's always, there is nothing to please Krishna. Krishna is being um, worshipped by the goddesses of fortune, and so many people are offering services to please Krishna. So Krishna doesn't need anything in this material world, but still we can see that Krishna is always reciprocating to the love of his devotees. So when somebody is offering something, no matter what, even if it's something very small, also Krishna is kind of like showing his love for each and every living entity. And yesterday, Sachinanda Swami was mentioning that during the time of Bhagavad Gita, it's a small story that happened. A bird lands up on the chariot, and it is kind of like telling Krishna, and it was speaking to Krishna and Arjuna that, you guys are going to do this battlefield and everybody is going to get killed. But in the process, I have a nest, which is my home for my children, and these elephants are going to even stamp this nest that I'm built up for my children. And then Krishna smiled at them because the bird is talking about the anxiety that what if the war happens, what will happen to my children. So Arjuna, then he signs to Arjuna, and Arjuna just lifts his arrow and just shoots it on the opposite side, and the arrow goes and hits the bell that was hanging onto the elephant, and then the bell will come and fall as a home, like as it will go and cover the nest that the bird has built up, so that giving protection that even though the war is happening, nothing's going to happen. And even in the middle of the battlefield, Krishna tells his Arjuna, let's go and see how the bird is doing. And then they go there and they lift the bell that was hanging actually from the elephant, and the bell was put as a protection by Arjuna's arrows. And then so Krishna will lift the bell and see that, yeah, the bird and the children are safe under the bell. So this is just to show that Krishna never forgets, even if it's a little bit of living entity, because Krishna is a loving father of every living entity, no matter how small, how big. Pitaham asya jagato mata data pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkara riksamalaja. Krishna says, I am the father and the mother of all the living entities in this universe. So that is just to show how much he loves. So here we can see that these two marriages also have taken place, but all these leelas happened before the appearance of Pradyumna, and which we covered in the last chapter. And how Satyajit, King Satyajit offended the Yadu dynasty, on how he came to his senses and offered the daughter in the Samantika Jivatikri are described. So we're going to unfold a chapter and trying to understand how Satyajit had this misunderstanding with Krishna and things like that, right? So because Satyajit was a great devotee of the sun god being very happy with him, giving him a Samantika jewel, and now Satyajit was wearing like a jewel around his necklace, and just by the presence of this beautiful jewel, he was like looking literally like a sun god. And putting on this jewel, he goes into the city of Dwarka, and everybody were mistaking him. Maybe it is the sun god himself who has come to see Krishna. Because I believe it is so interesting, and I can't tell you how fortunate the people of Dwarka was that the demigods coming to visit Krishna was not such a rare thing for them to see. So they have been used to seeing the demigods coming over to meet Krishna. But here they were mistaken Satyajit, thinking that he himself may be the sun god, because that's how beautiful he was looking at. And then they were thinking like, we had to go and inform Krishna about it. And mistaking Satyajit to be the sun god, some of the importance, they went to Krishna and to inform him that the sun god himself has come to see him. But Krishna is someone who knows everything. Sarvasya chaham shriti sannivishta matasmitir jnanam. He's seated in everyone's heart. And so he knows everything that's happening outside. So even though he was playing chess in this palace, he knew that he was playing chess in his palace. He knew who has come, and that it is not the sun god, but he knew about everything. So, but you can see that the residents of Dwarka, how nicely they're addressing Krishna. My dear Lord Narayana, you are the original personal, you are the supreme personality of Godhead. In your planetary portion as Narayana or Vishnu, you have 4 hands with your different symbols, the conch shell, this club, and lotus flower. You are actually the owner of everything. But in spite of your being the supreme Lord Narayana, you were descended in the Vrindavan to act as a child of Yashoda Mata, who sometimes used to tie up with ropes, and you have celebrated, therefore, by the name of Damodara. So this is the thing, right? The beauty about people of Vrindavan, or whether you take Devaki and Vasudeva, the beauty about it is that people out there at that point of time, they had seen Krishna, and both of them, and all of them had such wonderful spiritual knowledge. They knew about Krishna very well, that he is the supreme Lord of the universe. And they also knew that a plenary portion of Krishna is in the form of Lord Narayana. As Bhagavatam say, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna, you are the original candle, you are the original, you are the supreme Lord, and all other Narayan, all the planetary expansions of Krishna. So this is the knowledge that even the people of Dwarka had, and it's very interesting to know that even though they understand that this is the same Narayana who's sitting here in Dwarka, and he's the same Krishna who was actually at one time was even being tied by his mother Yashoda, and but of course Krishna allowed to be tied by mother Yashoda out of love, seeing the kind of a pain that she took in order to tie him down. So Krishna is so kind that when the devotees want to tie him down with love, he allows himself to be tied down with the ropes of love. So that is a beautiful metaphor for us to understand Krishna Prema, that he's called as Bhakta Vatsala. He's always someone who's always looking for the welfare of the devotees. He always wants his devotees to win, even if he's ready to lose. And that's the reason why we see that Krishna was even though he said that I'm not going to hold a weapon, he still takes the wheel, and because he's ready to even break his promise, because he wants his devotee Bhishma to win the promise that he has made, that he's going to make Krishna lift a weapon. So that's the love that Krishna has, as always, for his devotees. So we can see that Krishna, even though, of course, at one point of time, Sankaracharya, he talks about the Advaita philosophy, like, everything is one and things like that. But here again, he just doesn't want to make sure that people mistake Krishna to be an ordinary human being. So one of the important things that we have to understand the difference, because even though we are part and parcel of Krishna, we have a material body, and inside this material body, there is a soul. But in the case of Krishna, Krishna's body, everything is spiritual, not subjected to the material condition. So that is the reason why we find that Krishna doesn't age. Even when he was in the battlefield, he was looking so young at that point of time, because he is not subjected to the remotes of the material nature. And the citizens of Dwarka address Krishna not only as Damodara, but as Govinda. Govinda, someone who gives pleasure to the cows and the calves, isn't it? And that's why we call Gokulananda. Go means cow, Kula means a flock of cows, and Ananda, someone who gives happiness to the flock of cows. And that's such a nice way Krishna is always being referred with different names in different temples. So here they're referring to him as Damodara and as Govinda as well. And they addressed him as Yadunandana as well. And because he's the son of Vasudeva of Yadu dynasty. And this is the beauty about Krishna. Krishna not only he loves his parents, loves his devotees so much that he is even glorifying his father and his mother, right? We call as Yashoda Nandana, we call as Devaki Nandana, then we call like Yadu Nandana. So like that, he's kind of even glorifying the Yadu dynasty, glorifying his parents also. So this is the love that Krishna has. Krishna likes to be referred by the devotees' names as well. The citizens of Dwarka concluded that Krishna is the supreme master of the whole universe, and they addressed him in different ways. So when Satyajit, who was actually now visiting the city of Dwarka, even though he belongs to the soul, the Dwarka domain, and the citizens felt great pride to think that although Krishna was living in Dwarka like as an ordinary human being, the demigods were coming to see him. So it's wonderful, isn't it? Like when you're living in a place and we know that your leader is being visited by all the greatest people out there, or all very very powerful people out there, you feel very proud about, isn't it, that your leader is so powerful that people are coming to visit him. So they informed Krishna that the sun god with his blaring effulgence was coming to see him, but Krishna knew very well that it is not the sun god. So yeah. So on this side, so on hearing the statements of the citizens, Krishna simply smiled. So that's the beauty about Krishna, isn't it? He just smiles. Being pleased with the citizens of Dwarka, King Krishna informed them. So even though the people of Dwarka, because of the effulgence of the Shamantaka Jival, they thought that he is actually the sun god, but Krishna is clarifying, is informing them that whom they're thinking the sun god was actually King Satyajit, who's come to actually visit, to show his opulence in the form of valuable jewel made from the sun god. So this is the nature of the devotees. Actually, when, like sometimes when a person who has never seen anything, when he buys car for the first time, you can see him, he wants to go and show his car to everyone because he has never had the privilege of having a car, right? So we see that also back home, like, when suddenly someone who has a two-wheeler and suddenly one fine day they buy a four-wheeler. They're so excited, they just want to show and tell them around the neighborhood that, I got a car, I got a new car. So here, such as the main intention of coming to Dwarka was not to see Krishna, but he wants to actually, he wants to install that Samantaka jewel actually in the temple and be worshipped by the Brahmanas, because this Samantaka jewel is something which is known for producing a lot of gold. I believe it is, they produce on a daily basis, it produces us a lot of gold. And this is what the materialistic person is interested, isn't it? So Krishna, so many of the times people in the material world, they worship the demigods for a material purpose, for material benediction, and even the demigods who are authorized only for material benediction, they give them the material benediction. And in this way, actually, the devotee gets more and more entangled in material things. But Krishna, unlike the demigods, Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that whatever the demigods give, that is all very temporary. It's very temporary and something which is very material, because everything that material goes through the stages of creation, and maintenance and destruction. So that doesn't last for. But what Krishna is actually promising in Bhagavad Gita, he's not promising all these material things. What he's promising is that when we worship Krishna, he gives us the spiritual intelligence with which we can come out of this material entanglement and go back to Krishna Loka. So Krishna is promising the highest thing, because up to the level of Brahmaloka, we are always constantly oscillating between this material universe. That is the highest planet in the material universe, Brahmaloka. And then even if you go to the top, Brahmaloka, again, after enjoying for some time, you have to come back into this material world. Brahma Bhuvanal Loke Punar Avartinarjuna Mamupeki tu Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. Where Krishna is saying up to the level of Brahmaloka, Krishna says there are places of misery where everybody has to go through this, being born and getting old and dying again. But Krishna says that, but one who reaches his supreme planet, for that devotee, there's no coming back. So it is a choice that we have to make. And that's the reason why Krishna says that, one, we have to use our spiritual intelligence. In today's world, people are talking about artificial intelligence, but Krishna is talking about that we have to use our spiritual intelligence to understand what is beneficial for us. That these material things, they are very temporary, and they're temporary in nature, they don't last long. And even if you follow the Vedas and get the benediction, you may go to the higher planets, but again, you'll have to come back into this world. So the concept of heaven and hell, everything is temporary. But Krishna is saying that, why don't you use your spiritual intelligence, which I'm giving you in Bhagavad Gita, through which you can just directly come to the supreme planet of Krishna. And just to emphasize this point again, what Krishna has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 500 years back, he again comes in the form of a devotee as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give us a very, very simple method, a simple process, that by simply chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can get all the benefits. And at the end of life, you can just directly go to Krishna Loka. And not only that, Krishna promises that towards the end of life, if my devotee is not able to remember me, I will remember my devotee and take him back to Krishna Loka. So Krishna's promise is Bhagavad Gita. In so many places, he assures, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Kaunteya, Arjuna, you are my most favorite devotee, and you go and declare it to the world that whatever, and since you are my favorite devotee, whatever you declare to the world, I'll keep up the word. And what is the word that you want you to declare? Tell the whole world that a devotee of Krishna will never be perished, because I will always constantly protect him. And he did that. He not only that Krishna mentioned, he literally protected even Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. We all know the story that towards the end of Kurukshetra, when Arjuna was getting down from his, when Krishna asked Arjuna, just first get down from the chariot. And every day, actually, Krishna used to get down first. And now towards the end of the battlefield, Krishna says, Arjuna, you just get down from the battlefield, from the chariot. And as soon as Arjuna jumps from the chariot, immediately Krishna also jumps. And once Krishna jumps, the whole chariot bursts into flames. Arjuna is bewildered. Krishna, how come it happened? 18 days of this war, nothing happened, and suddenly the chariot has burst into flames. And then Krishna tells Arjuna, the most powerful weapons of Brahmahastras and Narayana-hastras were thrown at you, but I, standing on the chariot, was protecting you and the chariot from not being burst. And now that I have jumped from this chariot, the chariot has lost its power. Now it is burst into flames. So like that, so not only Krishna is saying that he is going to give his protection, but he has actually showed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra at every point of time that he's there to protect his devotees. And towards the end, Arjuna came out as a winner. So, so when we say we have to be very clear about it, materialistic is someone who's always involved in sense gratification. So whatever he's desiring also is something to do with the sense gratification. So Krishna actually asked Samantaka, Satyajit for the Samantaka jewel, but actually he doesn't give it because he's not interested in giving away the Samantaka jewel to Krishna because he has other plans. His other plans are to worship this and so that it will give him a lot of gold and so that he can become like more powerful and more rich, right? So it is mentioned that this Samantaka jewel used to give one bara is about 21 pounds and one mound equal to 82 pounds. So that's the kind of a gold that the jewel used to produce, and the jewel was producing about 170 pounds of gold every day. Can you imagine if that kind of a jewel was there today in the hands of everyone, which is where it is being worshipped and being produced? Even though there is a controversy around whether this could be the Kohinoor, we're not sure about that. But just imagine that at that point of time, what's the kind of a gold that's being produced? If somebody had this, they could be like dominating the metal market actually, with so much of gold being produced. And not only that, and that wherever this jewel is there's no possibility of famine or even inauspiciousness or pestilence. So these are the kind of like a side these things of benefits of even having the jewel. One, it's producing a lot of gold, and second thing is it kind of like there's no inauspiciousness or famine that's going to happen when it's around. So here we can see very clearly that King Satyajit was not interested in giving Krishna this jewel, but Krishna wanted to set an example that when a person is anything that is there is something to offer, that first it should be offered to the king of the kingdom, the person who's ruling the kingdom. And we can see that we remember long time back when Krishna was in Mathura and he went and killed Kamsa, and after that, I mean, if you see all the leelas of Krishna, it is so amazing that Krishna was so selfless all the time, right? If Pandavas win the battle, it is the Pandavas who are going to win the kingdom. What is Krishna going to get out of it, right? And if Mathura, if he going to defeat Kamsa, Ugrasena is going to become the king. There's nothing that he's going to win over there. But you can see that Krishna is always reciprocating to his devotees. And we all know that when he defeated Kamsa, who was actually ruling the Mathura at that point of time, after he defeated Kamsa, he given the kingdom to Ugrasena and asked his grandfather, you can rule. Because he's got a relationship over there. That's his grandfather. So he asked him to go and rule. So that is Krishna's this thing, he's always looking at a higher cause for his devotees and trying to glorify them rather than he taking away. So here also Krishna wanted to set this example that when you have something like a Samantaka jewel, then that should be first offered to the ruling chief of the king, but which he was not interested in. So that's the reason why Krishna asked Satyajit to present it to Ugrasena king. But in spite of Krishna pleading, Satyajit was too materialistic. That's what happens, isn't it? If there is something spiritual, people don't mind sharing it. But if something is materialistic, people can't. They won't be willing to share anything, isn't it? Can you imagine just giving away an iPhone to somebody just like that? That is impossible. You may just give away some kartals to somebody, or even a mridanga, but you won't give away your iPhone to somebody. So that's the nature of this material world. We are all covered by the three gunas, and the whole idea of chanting also is to rise above these three gunas. Yeah. Mam choyo vibicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So one who's unfailingly chanting under all circumstances rises above these gunas to the level of Brahman, and that is when you get the real happiness. So until we rise to that level of above these gunas, we will always be tempted by these materialistic pursuits. After this incident, and so what happens? So Krishna, so it's very clear. Krishna has asked him to give the Samantaka jewel to the Ugrasena, and we can see that Satyajit is in no mood to part ways with the jewel. And not only that, he's it so happens, isn't it? Like somebody wins a medal, he'll give it to his siblings or for them to just have some time with the medal that he received. So similarly, this is a great benediction that he got, this Samantaka jewel from the sun god. So he would have given to his younger brother, who actually took this jewel and he went on his horse back and went for a ride. It happens, isn't it? Let's say if you're gifted like a nice latest sports Audi in an Olympic Games or something like that. So you bring the Audi home and then your siblings want to take it for a ride. So similarly, so Satyajit's younger brother, Rasena, who took the Samantak jewel, got on his horse back and started going, to the forest. And and it so happened that when his brother Prasena, Satyajit's brother Prasena, was going into the forest, he was attacked by a lion, and which went and killed him, and both the horse and him, and it killed him. Right. So now it is interestingly the sequence of events. So Satyajit, he gives his jewel to his Samantika jewel to his brother, and his brother takes it, gets on a horseback, goes to the forest. Over there, he's attacked by a lion, which kills him. And then it so happens that Jambavan was actually over there. Jambavan goes and kills the lion, and then he takes that Samantika jewel and gets into, and then but the difference is that Samantika Satyajit was not a was a devotee of only the demigod, but Jambavan was actually a devotee of the Lord even at the time of Ramachandra. So he was actually someone who had a very pious background earlier, right? But then Jambavan took this Samantika jewel and gave it to his son to play. And so it so happened that when Satyajit, obviously he knew that his brother has gone for a ride, for a forest, and he sees that his brother has not come back. So, and then he gets to know that his brother has been killed. Yeah. So the thing is, like, he knows that his brother has gone to the forest along with the jewel, but he has not returned back. But he's not aware that of this incident that has happened, that he was killed by the lion. But so the first thing, that doubt that comes, right? Because when Satyajit had this jewel, Samantika jewel, it was Krishna who asked him. So now that he's putting all the dots together. Okay, my brother has taken this Samantika jewel, went into the forest. Krishna actually asked me for the jewel. I did not give it to him. So maybe it's a possibility that Krishna might have taken this jewel from Prasena and he would have killed him, And you know how rumors spread, right? In today's world, the Chinese whispers, as we say, like, you tell one thing and that adds up to something else. And by the time it goes into the media and social media, we are all aware of how powerful the social media is. Once it gets in there, through WhatsApp. Maybe if it was there, then they would have used WhatsApp. Like in those days, maybe they didn't have WhatsApp, but they did. Word of mouth spreads like wildfire, isn't it? So the rumors spread all over that maybe Krishna had killed Prasena and taken away the jewel. So we can see that this is what was happening. And talking with him, some of the important inhabitants of Dwarka, Krishna went to search for Prasena. So Krishna didn't want this thing to be tainted, his name to be tainted like this. So he goes into the forest and in search of Prasena, who was actually from. But again, we have to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He knows everything that has happened, but since he's there as the king of Dwarka, he's trying to pretend like to be like another, anybody who's out there. And at the same time, Krishna. So we can see that Krishna now has gone to the forest in search of Prasena, the brother of Satyajit, and found him dead, killed by the lion. So Krishna sees that he's been killed by the lion. At the same time, Krishna also found the lion king by Jambavan, who's generally known as Riksha. It is found that the lion has been killed by the hands of Raksa without the assistance of any weapon. Krishna and the citizens of Dwarka then found a forest great tunnel to be a path of Riksa's house. Krishna knew the inhabitants of Dwarka. So we can see that Krishna had gone into the forest along with the inhabitants of Dwarka, but then they were quite fearful of going into the tunnel. They know that something has happened. Prasena has been killed and the lion has been killed. And so something else must have happened. Somebody else must have taken and gone into this tunnel. So even though the people were quite scared to go into that, Krishna, he entered into the tunnel by himself, and then he sees that the Samantika jewel that was actually missing was actually being given by Jambavan to his little son, and who was playing as a toy. To take the jewel from the child, Krishna approached and stood before him, and obviously, Krishna actually went in search of the Samantika jewel because there's already a rumor that's being spread that he must have killed Prasena. So now that he finds that where the jewel is, that's in the hands of this son who's playing as a toy. But at the same time, when he comes over there, there's a person, the caretaker, she sees Krishna standing before that. And then he cries loudly in fear, right? That's what happens, isn't it? When you find somebody who you've never seen before coming in near the child. There's always a fear, why did this person come? Maybe he's come to kidnap the person, kidnap the child, or take away the diamond from him, or things like that. So now that the caretaker or the nurse cries, Jambavan appeared on the scene in a very angry mood. We all know, right? Even if it's a small animal, like even a cat or a rat or anything else, the motherly instincts or the parental instincts are such that if anything happens, or if somebody comes to harm the child, the parents become very, very protective, and they'll go to any extent to protect the child. So here we can see that Jambavan was actually a great devotee of Lord Krishna, but because he was angry, he could not recognize his master, and he thought him to be an ordinary child. And so this is the thing, isn't it? Many times when we become angry, we lose our sense of reasoning, we lose our sense of judgment, we lose our sense of recognizing the true picture over there, and we just jump to we become very hasty, we become very intolerant and things like that. So that is such was a situation because of this angry mood. And Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, right? Whatever Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, when you are in contact, when it's only when you are in that kind of lustful mood, or when you are in that mood of anger and things like that, you lose your sense of reasoning, and because of that, which you fall down. So here we can, in fact, it's mentioned out here. Arjuna advises Krishna to get free from anger, greed, and lust. These are the three things we should always get rid of: anger, greed, and lust. And the other three things we should not be given up is charity, austerity, and penance, and those kind of things, sacrifice. So those kind of things should not be given up. But these are the things which you have to give up: lust, greed, and anger. And they run parallel in the heart and check one's progress and spiritual progress. So if we want to progress spiritually, we have to make sure that we are, we are working on these three important things: lust, anger, and greed as well. And so not recognizing, Jambavan went and challenged Krishna for a fight. And then there was a great fight between Krishna and Jambavan, in which they fought like two opposing vultures. Whenever there's an eatable corpse, the vulture fights heartily over the prey. Krishna and Jambavan first of all, fought with weapons, and then with stones, and then with big trees, and then hand to hand, until at last they were hitting at each other with the fists, their blows like the striking of thunderbolts. Each expected victory over the other, but the fighting continued for 28 days, both in daytime and night, and at night without stopping. So you can see like the kind of the situation must have been there. But again, we have to understand that these are all leelas, because the most important thing is even the skill or even the strength that anybody has, even that strength is coming from Krishna. But these are all leela. So like we all know the story that when Arjuna was the greatest warrior, he was called as Sabyasachi, which means that he can even fight with two hands also. He was so powerful. But at the same time, the same Arjuna was ready to even fight, who fought even with Shiva, Lord Shiva, and such a great person, and he was gifted this Paspatasra, such a great warrior. Once Krishna left this planet, immediately we found that Arjuna was not able to even fight with the roadside thugs when he was trying to protect Krishna's princess. So then he realized that actually this kind of a strength and everything, this skill was actually because of the shelter of Krishna, because of Krishna's benediction. So if somebody is having great strength that they're able to even fight with Krishna, it is just the benediction, or it is the power of Krishna that he has given to his devotees. Otherwise, there's nobody who can actually stand in front of Krishna. So we can see that here Jambavan had that kind of a strength because we had to understand that he was actually previously a devotee in his previous life. So that could be the benediction as well. And Rasoham Apsakaunteya Prabhasmi Sasasuryo Pranava Sarva Vejeshu Sabdake Paurisham. Krishna says he is the ability in man. He is the taste of the water. He's the splendor of the sun. He is the Om in the Omkara. And at the same time, he is the ability in everyone. So if somebody is having this ability, and that ability is also coming from Krishna. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that because he's been given by Krishna that he can even defeat Krishna. No, that is not possible, because Krishna is the source of all the power, right? So we can see that the fight has just gone for nearly 28 days, day and night. You can imagine what kind of power that even Jambavan had. Although Jambavan was the strongest living entity of that time, practically all the joints of his body's limb became slackened, and the strength was reduced practically to nil. for he was struck constantly by the fists of Sri Krishna. Feeling very tired with perspiration all over his body, Jambavan was astonished because he was surprised to see like somebody who could just withstand that no matter how many blows he was making, Krishna was still overpowering him. We've seen earlier also when Rukmini's brother Rukmi was trying to, shoot arrows at Krishna and he was going on a hand-to-hand fight with Krishna. He was no match for Krishna. And the same thing we've seen with Kamsa also. So we had to understand the position of Krishna, that he is the supreme Lord of the universe and someone who's undefeatable. The only one whom he agrees to be conquered is his devotees, and out of the love for his devotees. That's the only way only the devotees can conquer Krishna with love, but not in any other way. And so here we can see that Jambavan was astonished. Who's this person that I'm fighting? That no matter for 28 days, I'm trying to fight so hard, but still it's possible. What was this opponent who's fighting so hard? Jambavan was quite aware of his own superhuman bodily strength, but when he felt tired from being struck by Krishna, he could understand that Krishna was no one else but his worshipable Lord, the Supreme Lord. This incident has a special significance for devotees. In the beginning, Jambavan could not understand Krishna because his vision was obscured by material attachment. He was attached to his body and to the greatly valuable Samantaka jewel, which he did not want to spare for Krishna. In fact, when Krishna came there, he was angry, thinking that Krishna had come to take away the jewel. This is the material position. Although one is very strong in body, that cannot help him in understanding Krishna. So this is the very important thing that we had to understand. You see that to what extent we go when we have attachment to material pleasures or material things in our life, isn't it? We go to any extent. Can you just imagine a person who's just crashed somebody's car? You can see the fury in him. Like even the most peaceful person, you'll see the other side of the coin, right? You'll become like so furious. You'll stop the car and just start swearing at the person and ready to go for a fight. And all you could do is, you can get your insurance done. You could just go and maybe it could be a slight scratch where you could just get away with something. But in the moment, because you're angry, because of your attachment to these material things, you could be totally a different person. Actually, you lose yourself, who you are, and then you land up doing all kind of things. And so here, Jambavan was going through the same thing. He had two attachments. One is attachment to his son and attachment towards the jewel. And this is the position when you are so attached, you are ready to go and do anything. Here we see that Krishna is himself coming to, find out where the Samantaka jewel is. And this is the mercy of Krishna, that when Krishna loves his devotees very much, he takes away all these material opulences. And a lot of people, many times, they misunderstand when we say, oh, Krishna takes away everything from his devotees. But we have to understand that Krishna doesn't want to take away from a devotee who's just beginning to practice Krishna consciousness. When he finds that his devotee is an advanced devotee, for him, a lot of these material things are coming in the way. He removes those kind of things in the middle of on the way, so that his devotee, who's already advanced, who can spend even more time in loving a relation with Krishna. And that's the reason why he is going to take this away, so that you can fully dedicate himself. So this is Krishna's benediction again, so that you can become closer to Krishna. And nobody is a loser, because the very fact that you want attached to the Samantaka jewel is because you want to be happy. But the real happiness is Krishna is giving that in Bhagavad Gita, right? He says that one who's fixing his mind on Krishna, he enjoys the ultimate happiness within his heart. And the soul becomes completely blissful, because that is the true happiness. That's the nature of the soul, to be happy, to be in full of bliss. And that happens in the real when you're completely in love with Krishna. That no material things we will be interested at all, because you have found something, a higher taste. And that's the reason why Krishna says, Bhoga Ishwarya Prasaktanam Tayapa Hrita Chetasam Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samodo Navidiyate. Krishna, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? One who's engaging in material senses, who's completely attached to sense enjoyment, one who's completely into material opulences, for such kind of a person, the inclination towards devotional service will not arise. That person will not have bhakti in their life, because his consciousness is totally filled with material desires and sense enjoyment and material opulences. So that's the reason for such kind of a people, the inclination for devotee or for bhakti towards Krishna will not arise. But again, Krishna also says Visaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopasta param dristva nivartit. But when you get a higher taste of Krishna Bhakti, when you meet the devotees and you see how joyfully they're enjoying in the presence of Krishna, when you see that there is more joy in serving Krishna, then you lose the taste for all the material things. That is the step-by-step process, which is called the yoga ladder. So this in this way, they practice into that. So here we can see that because this is a finest example that when you are attached to the material things, even Krishna is there in front of you, you're not ready to recognize because of your attachment to the material things. So Jambavan therefore said to the Lord, and now Jambavan could realize that somebody who's able to withstand such a long time, it can't be an ordinary person. Now he's coming to his senses. So Jambavan therefore says to Krishna, my dear Lord, I can now understand who you are. You are the supreme personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, Lord Vishnu, the source of everyone's strength, wealth, reputation, beauty, wisdom, and renunciation. This is the opulences of Bhagavan, right? 6 opulences: unlimited strength, unlimited wealth, reputation, beauty, wisdom, and renunciation. And this statement is conferred by the Vedanta Sutra, where the Supreme Lord is declared to be the source of everything. And Vedas Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhu mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. Everything is emanating from me. And the wise man who knows this will engage in devotional service towards Krishna. So it's very important for us to understand, because when we know how great Krishna is, when we understand that Krishna is the supreme Lord of the universe, then our heart will open up to this love of Krishna. So these bhakti and knowledge, both of these should go hand in hand. On one side, you should be reading Bhagavad Gita, you should be reading Bhagavatam to get all the knowledge so that we can know more about Krishna and fall more in love with Krishna. Then we understand. Like otherwise, even though Krishna showed his form, true form to even Duryodhana, even he was not ready to accept, because Duryodhana was in the same situation like Jambavan. He was so attached to his material things that he was not able to even recognize that Krishna was there in front of him, trying to show him his true vision as well. So this is the nature of the person who's too attached to sense enjoyment. We can never be able to see the true Lord. So here he's saying, my dear Lord, you are the creator of the universal affairs. This statement is very instructive to the ordinary man who's amazed by the activities of a person with an exceptional brain. The ordinary man is surprised to see the inventions of a great scientist, but the statements of Jambavan confirm that although a scientist may be a creator of many wonderful things, Krishna is the creator of the scientists. He is the creator of not only one scientist, but millions and trillions all over the universe. So scientists normally talk about science, but here what we are talking about is what Bhagavad Gita Krishna speaks about in the spiritual science, understanding the spiritual science. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Imam Vivasvate Yogam. He says this is a yogam, the true actual meaning of the yoga Krishna is explaining. Gam avishya bhutanam darayam ahamojasa pusnami chausidi sarva samobhutvaras. Krishna says, I enter into every planet and by my energy they stay in the orbit. So Krishna is declaring in Bhagavad Gita. So the scientists can study that the planets are rotating in their orbit and things like that, but they don't understand that Krishna is the one who's entering into every planet and making sure that the planets are staying in the orbit. So he's the one behind that. Jambavan said further, not only are you the creator of the creator, but you're also creator of material elements, which are called as so-called creators manipulate. Scientists utilize the physical elements or laws of material nature to do something wonderful. But actually, such laws and elements are also a creation of Krishna. This is actually the scientific understanding. Less intelligent man do not try to understand who created the brain of the scientist. They're satisfied simply to see the wonderful creation or invention of the scientist. So this is the thing, right? People don't see the bigger picture. They don't understand. Even the scientist who is trying to study the science, which is actually the laws of the nature, something which has been put in place by Krishna. They're just studying the science, the laws of nature that is being put up by Krishna. Maya jakshena prakriti suete sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagat viparvatite. The material energy, Arjuna, is working under my direction, under its rule. This creation is happening under its rule, the annihilation is happening. But all these things that are happening in this material nature, Krishna says they're happening under my direction. This material energy is working according to my direction. So we have to understand that when there is a creation, there is a creator behind. Just like when you have a project, we know that there's a project manager behind that. If there's an iPhone, we know that there's a company and there's a CEO behind it. So similarly, an intelligent person will try to understand that actually Well, whatever the scientist is doing, where is he getting this intelligence from, right? Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Sarvasya chaham siddhi sannivisto matasmitir jnanam apohanam cha. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So this knowledge of the scientist, Krishna tells and makes it absolutely clear in Bhagavad Gita that it is coming from Krishna. But we don't acknowledge from where the knowledge is coming. We just simply appreciate the scientists, even though it is just minuscule. Even the great scientists like Albert Einstein, even he glorified Bhagavad Gita, right? He said after reading Bhagavad Gita, it's so clear how this whole universe has been formed and things like, because Krishna explained everything. The science is just, it's a spiritual science. So Jambuvan now continued, my dear Lord, the time factor which combines all the physical elements is also your representative. And you are the supreme time factor in which all the creation takes place and is maintained and is finally annihilated. And beyond the physical elements and the time factor, the persons who manipulate the ingredients and advantages of creation are part and parcel of you. The living entity is not therefore an independent creator. By studying all the factors in the right perspective, one can see that you are the supreme controller and the Lord of everything. My dear Lord, I can therefore understand that you are the same supreme personality of Godhead whom I worshipped as Lord Ramachandra. So you see, like after yuga, so we have the Satya Yuga, then we had the Treta Yuga. Then so Jambuvan was during the time of Treta Yuga, and he's still there in the time of Dwapara Yuga. And so now he's able to recognize that this such super strength, superhuman strength that could be lasting for 28 years, 28 days and still going strong, that it has to be Krishna, it has to be Lord Ram, who's actually could be able to defeat me like that. So now he's recognizing, he's come back to his senses, he's not no more covered by this material lust for greed, for the Samantika Jiva, the greed is gone, his attachment is gone. Now he's coming to senses where he's able to recognize. So these things are very, very important for us to understand that if you want to have the true love of Krishna, if you want to recognize the love of Krishna, if you want to have this loving relationship with Krishna, we have to put aside these pop-ups in the form of material attachments, material things, which are like an obstruction actually now in recognizing our love for Krishna. So here he is able to understand that Krishna says, right, he is the time, right? He mentions in Bhagavad Gita in chapter number 9, I am time and I come here to destroy everything. And with the exception of the Pandavas, everybody is going to be annihilated. So Krishna is already mentioning that. And also now, not only that, whether it's a scientist or whether it is an ordinary person, everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna, right? Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Mana Shastra Nindriyani Prakriti Stani Karshati. Krishna says, all of you Jivatmas, you are part and parcel of me. But because you are fallen into this material world, you have forgotten your relationship with me. And because not only that, because you are under the control of the three modes of material nature. You are completely conditioned by these three modes of material nature. So you have forgotten your relationship with them. So here we can see that even whether you're a scientist or whether you are anybody else, you are part and parcel of Krishna. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. Every Jivatma is a part and parcel of Krishna. And also to understand, Java is trying to recognize now that he is the supreme controller. And this is what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. So you see how Krishna Katha is always ties so nicely with Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram yajana tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam jnatamam shanti vichati. Krishna gives the peace formula. How to become peaceful in your life. When you understand that Krishna is the supreme Lord, he's the supreme Lord of this universe. When you understand he is the supreme Lord of all the demigods and of all the planetary system, when you understand he is the supreme enjoyer and he is the one who's actually enjoying all the sacrifices that you are making, everything. And when you understand Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, that Krishna is not only the supreme Lord, but he is your best well-wisher and your best benefactor, such kind of a devotee, when you come to that understanding, you will have peace of mind. Because in this material world, everybody wants to be the Lord of things, Lord of material things. But we understand that we are not the supreme Lord, that there is a higher power, there is Krishna who's actually the supreme controller. He is a supreme enjoyer. So this is what, so here, Jambavan has come to this realization that I can understand now that you are the supreme Lord Ramchandra as well. My Lord Ramachandra wanted to construct a bridge over the ocean, and I saw personally how the ocean became agitated simply by my Lord glancing over it. And when the whole ocean became agitated, living entities like the whales, alligators, timingala fish, all became perturbed. The Timingala fish in the ocean can swallow big aquatics like whales in one gulp. So you can imagine how big this. In this way, the ocean was forced to give way and allow Ramchandra to cross to the island known as Lanka. This island is now to be said to be a Ceylon. Lord Ramachandra's construction of a bridge over the ocean from Cape Cameron to Ceylon is still well known to everyone. After the construction of the bridge, the fire was set all over the kingdom of Ravana. During the fighting with Ravana, every part of his limbs was slashed to pieces by your sharp arrows, and his head fell to the face of the earth. Now I can understand that you are none other than my Lord Ramachandra. No one else has such immeasurable strength. No one else could defeat me in this way. So he could understand, Jambavan could understand, relate to him. And you can imagine the lifespan in those days. In Kali Yuga, we do not even last for 100 years, but you can see Jambavan was lasting two yugas actually. He was during the time of Treta Yuga, and now he's in Dwapara Yuga as well. And so now he's relating it to Lord Ramchandra. We all know about Setu Bridge, right? The one which Lord Ramchandra has constructed when he wanted to cross over to go to Lanka, Sri Lanka. And at that time, we see that the ocean was not making way, and later, of course, later he did that. But so this is something which Jambavan could understand, that someone who's like this, it has to be my Lord Ramachandra. And he also is relating and reflecting back on the power of Lord Ramachandra, how he has killed Ravana with his sharp arrows and how he could defeat him. So he's trying to make parallels behind this strength, this superhuman strength that Lord Ramachandra had, and now Lord Krishna is showing his strength in the same way. So it is a beautiful way through the devotees we can get to know, and Krishna Katha, through the Krishna Katha and through the devotees of Krishna, these beautiful leelas come to us to help us to understand that when we have Krishna in our life, for us, a lot of things we cannot do. Like Jambavan couldn't fight against it. But there's so many things that we can't fight against. But if we have the strength of Krishna, if we have Krishna on our side, then anything is possible. That's the reason why. What does Sanjay say at the end of Bhagavad Gita? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Pardo Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shri Vijayobhuti Dhruvan is. Wherever there is Bhagwan Sri Krishna and wherever there is a devotee like Arjuna, there's going to be auspicious and there's going to be victory. So here, Jambavan could easily make out after fighting with Krishna that he's none other than Lord Ramachandra. So I will just stop it here. We are being respectful for everybody's time since it's just crossed 9 o'clock. But it's a beautiful Leela that's unfolding, and we can see how Satyajit, like how this. Still more to come. But it started with Satyajit trying to show off his jewel by going to Dwaraka, and he was not interested in giving the jewel to Krishna. And then it's the nature of the material world, isn't it? When two things happen, people start linking them and just start making their own stories. And this is another thing which we can learn. Like even though Krishna was just asked him, he didn't do anything beyond that. But the people out there started a rumor that maybe Krishna would have killed Satyajit's brother. So this is the nature of the material world, that how people add up stories to it. But then we can see that Krishna's unsurmountable strength, that he could defeat Kamsa, he could defeat Jarasandha, and at the same time here he could even defeat so easily Jambavan. So just want to stop over here, and then I want to take any realizations, any comments, corrections. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
How much more of the story is there?
Prabhuji, I think another future paragraph, Prabhuji, maybe another 15-20 minutes.
It's okay. We can save it to next week then.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a few things. It's interesting, this connection back to Ramchandra and the bringing together Ram Leela and Krishna Leela through Jambavan. I think it's fascinating because it's Krishna book. It's about Krishna, but Krishna and Ram are the same for different purposes, for different Leelas. So this is our mood. We worship Krishna, we worship Ram, we appreciate both aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And ultimately, we also worship Chaitanya. So Ram, Krishna, Chaitanya, that is our real focus. That's our focus. And that comes together in the Sadbhuj form.
Yes.
Another thing I wanted to mention for you and everyone else to consider. There is mention in a book, the most authoritative book written on the Koh-i-Noor diamond, because I was doing research into this, that although there's no way to substantiate it, but some people still say in India that the Shamataka jewel and the Koh-i-Noor diamond are the same stone, which makes it even more fascinating because it brings it into the modern era. Ramchandra to Krishna to the modern era of Chaitanya Sankirtan movement. But there's no way to validate it. But in the book, they had to put that in there, even though it's subject to speculation.
Yes, yes. Yes, Prabhuji. What's the name of the book, Prabhuji? Was it something? I never heard it.
The name of the book. Hold on, let me look it up.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji.
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
Maybe you get some comments from some other people, but
Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
look it up.
Hare Krishna, Saurabh Prabhu and Usha Mataji. Thank you for joining us. Vrindavan Das Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Any comments or anything, any realizations, reflections? Hare Prabhu, Jagannath Prabhu, Moga Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. It was nice listening to the call. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, somebody else will talk to you.
Yeah, the okay, it's a book. There's two authors, William Dalrymple and Anit Anand. Anit Anand is a journalist for BBT. William Dalrymple just wrote a recent book also on the antiquity of the importance of Indian culture in the world. I forget that name, but the book on the Koh-i-Noor is called "The Story of the World's Most Infamous Diamond." In other words, it's a famous diamond. Everyone knows it's the Koh-i-Noor, right?
Yeah.
But it's infamous. It's infamous. Why? Because the British stole it. They stole it, and they don't want to give it back. So the intrigue of the Koh-i-Noor diamond continues. The monarchy, and we're talking about monarchy. We're talking about Ramchandra and Jambavan, and within the story, it's about power and influence. So yeah, the situation still continues, that there is a diplomatic problem between Britain and India, that many people are still yelling and screaming, "Chor, you've stolen the Koh-i-Noor, give it back." Even Narendra Modi chimed in with his idea about that. It was a couple of years ago when King Charles got his coronation. So anyway, that's the name of the book. It's an infamous diamond. It's a famous diamond, but it's famous for all the wrong reasons.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah,
But this is the most authoritative book. It was recently written, I think 2017, 2018, something like that. So relatively recent and well-researched book. So they stuck that in there, yeah. Some people say Koh-i-Noor and Shamataka jewel are the same, although there's no way to validate that with any scientific scrutiny. But maybe it is. Just the fact that they put that in there becomes meaningful for the devotees.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, something they can relate that this has really happened, and this is relating to something which has come out of Bhagavatam.
Well, it relates it to the Bhagavatam, and of course, people don't know what the Bhagavatam is. King Charles doesn't know what the Bhagavatam is, but the issue is still there, that somehow or other the Koh-i-Noor, Samantaka jewel, are somehow or other related in people's minds.
Yes, true.
I mean, for the modern day monarchy, it's a symbol of royal power. Therefore, they can never get it up. King Charles can never give the diamond back. It's symbolic. If he were to give it back, the people of England would just say, you crazy king, what are you doing? You're giving away your own symbol of your monarchy.
Hmm.
So he can't give it back, and he knows it. Anyway, I don't want to go on this tangent, but yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating story. The more I read about the Shamantaka jewel, it's filled with, incredible intrigue and but also realization about Krishna consciousness, and Ramchandra is part of it too.
Absolutely, Prabhuji. Very, very. How the stories, I mean, the entire Leelas we're seeing so far, like they're full of nectar, full of action, and like you can see, like how Krishna is showing, like he's the Supreme Lord, actually. Because when Lord Ramchandra came as, like, he was like the Maryada Purushottama, there's a certain things that he displayed in his characteristic style as someone who's very an obedient son and everyone.
Yeah.
But Krishna removed all bars to set the record straight. I'm the Supreme Lord. Like in many ways, actually, that whether whatever is the single. So it's amazing to see how Krishna shows his opulence.
Well, it's what is the future of the monarchy in the UK too? This is a big speculation. No one really knows. It may be, it's not going to go much farther. Who knows? Kind of up to King William, I guess, what he's going to do with it.
That's true.
Anyway,
yeah,
the story in the Krishna book, though, is quite amazing just for what it is. It's one of those stories that, I mean, boy, if the devotees can ever put it into some kind of a video or a play or, animation or something, it's a great story.
Yes, it's really great. I mean, when we were young, we used to watch movies on these topics, actually, like Jambat and Krishna fighting and things like that. We were very fortunate when we were young. We had so many stories of Krishna as movies.
Yeah.
At least we got some idea, like, okay, this is what.
Yeah, a lot of these stories have fighting in them, because Kshatriya spirit kind of fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
makes it for a good movie in those days.
Exactly, it's entertaining. I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when it comes as a movie, it comes in a different thing. They add a bit of masala, they just make it a bit more. But at least the essence, somewhere we can show, at least gives people some idea, like, okay, these things are all real that have happened. Yeah.
Anyway, it's just a great story, like so many great stories out of the Bhagavatam. I mean, they lend themselves to some kind of multimedia presentation, but who are the devotees that has time to do stuff like that, or have the talents or the abilities? That'll maybe be in the next generation or two of devotees that can do stuff like that. We'll see.
Yeah, sure, Guruji. If there are no comments from anyone, maybe we can close for today. I want to thank everyone, like Prabhuji, Ramana Prabhuji, for your time, and Vrindavan Prabhuji, and everyone.
No, thank you, Shyam Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you.
You're a real reservoir of Bhagavad Gita verses, that's for sure. That's amazing. You have them right at the tip of your disposal. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Prabhuji, I just get so inspired to speak about them. They just come to the top of my mind, like whenever I see a particular relevant topic to that, it just brings to mind immediately, like, this is the sloka it's referring to. And so it just comes very natural. I just wanted to share somewhere Krishna's words. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for always.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyasya.
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyasya.
Vaishnavibhyo namo namo.
Oh, Namah.
Can we all unmute and do loud Hari Bols to Ramnasik Prabhuji and Shyam Prabhuji, please? Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very wonderful session.
Thank you, Amoga Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.